Um, okay. We have some people here.
Cool.
Great. So we are one.
Cool. Thanks for having us.
Thanks
Of
for having
course.
us. Yeah,
Of course.
Costume, Samantha.
Thank you.
I'm jealous.
This isn't just my normal attire. It is in fact a costume. So thank you. I'm your host, King Payman, for tonight. And welcome to our first session of the second edition of the Featured Artists on the Eccentric Artists website. So just to give everyone a little rundown how everything will work, for the first 30 minutes, I'll be asking our featured artists some questions, and then after that, we will open up questions to the audience. And so if you think of anything while we're chatting, feel free to type it into the chat, and we will get to the questions. Or if you are feeling particularly brave today, you can also use the raise your hand button, and you will be include it up here in our discussion, so you can ask our artists directly your question if you want to. So now that the logistics are out of the way, let me introduce you to our artists. I will be reading off a short bio so you can understand just how great these people are and how excited I am to talk to them today. So Nikki Corda is the founder and executive director of the Nevada Women's Film Festival, which is an international film festival that encourages and supports fair representation of women in film. They are the only festival in the state of Nevada to showcase women in key creative positions, and they particularly seek stories with strong and complex female characters. Nikki has spent her early career in feature film development in Los Angeles with stints at 20th Century Fox and Paramount. She began producing and writing independently with the award-winning documentary Urban Rescuers. She continues to follow her passion for nonfiction film with her business called Life Portraits. Nikki also teaches a variety of film and English classes at multiple colleges in Nevada. And just as a heads up for everyone watching, submissions for the 7th Annual Nevada Women's Film Festival are currently open until March 31st of 2021. But I would highly encourage you, don't wait until then. Submit as soon as you can, and you'll save more money. And actually, the early bird submissions are through tomorrow. So if you have something prepared or something that you want eyes on, make sure that you submit to the Nevada Women's Film Festival. And Nikki here will she'll see it, maybe. I don't know.
Yes, I will. I will see it. We love our locals. Thank you for that introduction. It really sounds like I've had a very long career, doesn't it? And I'm tired just hearing that.
Yeah, well, we have to let everyone know all the great work that you've done, everything you've done for the film community here in Vegas. I think it's really important, and it's great to have you here. Our other guest for today is Justin Bergenzoni. Justin is also a founder of the film festival. He co-founded Sin City Horror Fest, which is also an internationally recognized film festival that takes place here in Las Vegas. They showcase and celebrate independent horror filmmakers. So, as an alumni of the film program at UNLV, Justin learned from horror film icon and professor David Schmoller, who is known for films like Tourist Trap, Puppet Master, and Crawl Space. Since graduating, Justin has worked many years as a camera operator and production sound recordist with local Las Vegas production companies, such as Lightforge Studios and Critical Focus. Justin's love for horror started at a very young age from watching Nightmare on Elm Street at 5 years old, which is a little crazy.
Babysitter.
Babysitter, man, those babysitters. You got to make sure you background check those babysitters. This love for horror was solidified when his family moved to a middle of nowhere gold mining town in Nevada, where he and his brother Craig, their only forms of entertainment came from a subscription to Fangoria magazine, a VHS copy of The Making of Thriller, and a solitary video store called Augie Trogs. Is that correct?
Yep, Augie Trogs.
All right, Augie Trogs. Justin is also currently the creative content director for the YouTube channel Kings of Horror, where over the past weekend they just held their first all-virtual Sin City Horror Fest.
Cool. Thank you, Samantha.
Yeah, of course. Okay, so before we jump into our questions, we're going to play a short video showcasing Nikki and Justin's film festivals, respectively. So hopefully we can get the video up real quick. We have to check the Slack channel to see if we're ready for the video or not.
No worries.
I can help you stall for a moment if you.
All right, sure, yeah.
Justin, I'm 5 years old. You saw Nightmare on Elm Street. Mm-hmm. So when I was 3, my father thought it would be a good idea to show me Hunchback of Notre Dame with Charles Laughton, the original.
Okay.
When I was 3, okay, that that explains a lot. I mean, that was
that's funny.
Yeah, no, it was not at the time.
This stuff sticks with you, you know?
Yeah, no, it was, because he really loved good film too, and it just didn't, parenting was so different back then.
Right.
All right, so thank you for helping me stall, but unfortunately it looks like our video is not working. So we'll try it again towards the end, because I would like everyone to see your festivals and how great they are. But let's keep rolling. We'll start talking about some questions. Again, I just want to say thank you guys for joining us. It's really great to have you guys.
This is a great thing you guys are doing.
So great.
Cool. So I'll start out with an easy question, hopefully, for both of you. What sparked your interest in filmmaking?
You want to take that, Justin?
I'd say for me, it started off as my dad was a photographer growing up. So it was kind of that. And then my mom got us a video camera in like 94. So we'd film, just sports and stuff and home movies. My uncles were always into home movies. So it's kind of that creativity that kind of transitioned into kind of more of the narrative stuff. My brother went to school at UNLV also to do coaching for football. He wanted to be we're big into football growing up, and then he got into the video department at the film school or the UNLV, and he really wanted to do movies, so he changed his major and went to film school, and I followed right in his footsteps. And I was like, speaking of David Schmoller, when he first got to the film department, he calls me up. He's like, yeah, the director of Puppet Master is one of my teachers. That was like the coolest thing. So and I just kind of being into the cameras growing up my whole life. And then kind of just I was into music and the whole creative arts, so I kind of it was a natural progression.
Yeah, runs in the family, it sounds like.
Yeah.
For me, I would say it was similar. I shared this story about what my father, exposed me to, and and my parents, they continued to expose me to really good film growing up. I remember back in the day, I grew up in Las Vegas, and the old MGM had a theater just to show the old MGM films, and I got to see so many classics. And when I moved to Los Angeles when I was 18, I was very young, and I didn't know at the time that I was going to go into that industry, but that is the industry. In LA. I mean, that's everything is related somehow to the entertainment industry. And so I found myself working at a company, a motion picture camera rental company, when I was very young. It's very big. It's called Claremont Camera, and they rented Aeroflex cameras. And I just became friends with a lot of people who were, very involved in that. And I started watching movies with friends and seeing movies in a whole new way. And by the time I was 25 is when I decided to go to film school, and I actually went to Boston University.
Awesome.
From LA to Boston, yeah. I just wanted to be very academic and have a, very East Coast kind of college experience.
And Boston's a college town, right? Or no?
So much, yeah. Yeah.
I heard there's a couple good colleges up there.
Not everyone can go to Harvard. I mean, there's a joke here. Not everyone can go to BU, so they go to Harvard. That's
right. That's awesome.
Awesome. All right. So since you guys are professionals and both have founded film festivals, I think that's what the majority of our questions are going to be about today. So would you say that picking a specific subject or theme is important for creating a successful film festival?
Would you like me to start?
You start with that one, Nikki. Go.
Okay, so I think we have our niche, and I think that's I think you guys do too, Justin, and I think that was the reason we did it, was because we wanted to raise awareness of the hardships of women in film. It's gotten a lot better in the last 7 years. That doesn't mean that we're going to, close up shop by any means. We continue to, we want to push for social justice, diversity, all these things, but we still are looking for equity for women in film. And I think the desire for that came before the desire to just create a film festival for me. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's kind of more of a solution than it was like a, the actual starting point necessarily.
Right. Mm-hmm. So like an activism.
Right.
Yeah, just putting the stuff out there that you want to see, right?
Yeah.
Or creating the platform for others to do so. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mine's a little different as far as like the horror thing. I think mine just spawned off personal interest, and it was actually the 4 other founders that I was actually the last one to get on to developing the whole thing. So I saw that my buddies, Mike Lanzini, Darren Flores, and Drew Marvick, and then our other partner, Clay Lake, I saw they were all making a film festival. I knew them all, and none of them had told me about it. And I was super into horror, and I was like, why don't you guys let me help out, So it was right off the start, like right after they started it. And then, so by rights, I may not be like one of the first original, but I was there since, day 2, let's say. Mm-hmm. And
that's important.
But yeah, no, that was just more of a kind of a love for the genre, and that's, do I think like the festivals need to be niche to be successful? I don't necessarily think so. I've always been impressed with, back in the day, Cine Vegas and now Las Vegas Film Festival. Mm-hmm. I was, they always hold a close place to my heart. So, and they're kind of diverse in all their subjects. Mm-hmm. So, it's kind of, I wouldn't say super easy, but it's definitely easy with the genre festival, with being a horror film fest, because it's like, we're this and we get those type of films, and so we do have the focus is narrow, which in a lot of ways makes it easier.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What are some important aspects of running a film festival that you don't think that other people realize go into it, or maybe something that you didn't realize yourself until you started working on a film festival?
What did we get ourselves into, right?
I say money. That's
money.
Do you want to go? You want to take that one?
Yeah, no. And one of the things from the start, it's like, we started it. All right, then it's like pick a venue, and then paying for the venue, and then it's like cost. It starts to build up a little bit, and just in general, like because we come from, just filmmakers from that perspective. We're not part of the event planners or anything like, festival programmers from like, that's not where we came from. So we came strictly from the filmmaker aspect, and which definitely, like, there was a lot of stuff we were kind of ignorant to, and a lot of it, it's just the simple things, but yeah, like the simple things, but yet getting money and yeah, that's kind of one of the biggest challenges is kind of keeping it going. We were actually pretty blessed with like we take all our films through Film Freeway, and we're really like blessed as far as getting the films in. We had like 4 years in a row we've had great films, and I think I take that for granted sometimes. Is that I don't know how other festivals are, if they get kind of depending on the selection. The films are what counts, and definitely proud of all the quality we get.
Yeah, I would agree. We also use Film Freeway, and I think what Justin said about boy, there were so many things you didn't know from the start, and I would say definitely the same with us. I think if we had known right from the start, we might not have done it. One thing people don't realize is how much work is involved. It's a year-round job. Yeah, it's really a year-round job. It might not be full-time year-round, but it really is full-time for like those last 4 to 6 months before the festival. And yeah, Justin mentioned money. I think if this is something you want to do, you have to decide what type of business model you want to be. We decided to be a nonprofit, and that's worked really well for us because we're able to apply for grants. And, we also seek sponsors, but grants, that's been really huge for us. Thank you, Nevada Humanities, Nevada Arts Council.
Yeah, we struggle with like going back and forth on, we're an LLC, actually, we're not a nonprofit, and it's good in certain ways, but there's the whole grant thing, man. We're missing out on that part, and that's I know Damn Short Film Fest is a nonprofit too, and they're Solana does a very good job of getting a lot of grants, so they run a really good festival over there also. And,
that's a great festival.
But yeah, that's tough, and I kind of like, we always talk about it. It's like, how can we get more money? How can we get sponsors? And the whole grant thing, I think we kind of put ourselves out of the game a little bit with being an LLC, at least to my knowledge, So.
Yeah, I think there should be some type of grants you can apply for, but I think you definitely have more opportunity when you're a nonprofit. And being nonprofit doesn't mean that you cannot make a salary. We're still able, not that we make huge salaries by any means, but we're growing now. We're into 7 years now, and
that's
so
awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and so we're able to maybe budget, just a little bit for ourselves, but still nonprofit. You don't go into it because you're, a capitalist and you're
not at all.
It's a labor of love.
Right. If you're trying to make money, don't start a film festival.
Or be a documentary filmmaker, I might add. You don't want to
So I was wondering, where do most of your guys' submissions come from? Are they usually local? Do you get a lot of out of state, maybe international? Like, where do most of your submissions come from?
You were saying Film Freeway, right, Justin?
Yeah, ours. Yeah, and come from everywhere. Like ours, we had the best short film this year was from Iran.
Yeah,
so it was an animated short. And those with Iran is that since there's like sanctions and stuff, they can't actually. Oh,
how cute!
They can actually submit. They have to email us and contact us, and filmmakers from Iran and a couple other countries will say, "Hey, can you guys waive the fee?" So, and we've had good films from literally everywhere, and it's like you look at our little demographic where all the films come from. It's like that's the cool thing with with obviously there's a ton of work into putting into the film festival, a ton of work,
Mm-hmm.
but Film Freeway does a lot of it. You know, they bring you the films and people submit, and but yeah, we've had films from all over. We have a good chunk in the U.S., but then a lot of from Spain. We have for some reason our festival has a lot of films from Spain.
That's interesting.
And yeah, so we'll give awards out to people out there, and you know, Darren has to ship them off, and you know, that's the cost too, shipping them off to.
Yeah.
So all these little things we don't think about.
I think that's true. We've seen some really great films from Iran, but you're right. They always send a fee request waiver, and it's definitely worth checking out. So yeah, we also get films through Film Freeway from all over the world, and I do like to program films from all over the world. I think it's such a great opportunity for us locally. It adds to our culture. It elevates Nevada, as a destination where you can see foreign films from all over. And then with our virtual life this last year, we were able to Zoom in with basically all the filmmakers. So it was an incredible experience. And of course we do really want to emphasize our locals as well. We always give priority to our locals and to our students, because we are both a women's festival and a Nevada festival, so we want to support that, to support our local artists. But yeah, I would say it's amazing the opportunity that Film Freeway allows us.
Yeah.
Existed. So use Spain I would say for us, we seem to get a lot from Italy, the UK. I would say a lot from the UK and Australia.
That's interesting. Awesome. Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah, that is the cool thing about just sorry to cut you off, but the cool thing about the just programming internationally, and I think there's 5 of us, so when we're watching the films, each of us has kind of a different taste in the style. So not only are the films from everywhere, there's different types of films, within the festival as far as tone and pace and subject matter. Right. So and I love seeing the variety of films. I love seeing all the foreign films, and I think it's such a cool thing when you said it's adds a lot of culture to the to the art here in the city.
Yeah, that's very cool that you mentioned that, because my next question was actually for you, Justin, and I wanted to ask you, what do you think makes an effective horror film?
I would say, some people were asking us on. It's interesting because there's Sin City Horror Fest I'm part of, and I just got hired to work for Kings of Horror YouTube channel, and Mike Lanzini is part of the Sin City Horror Fest, so he hired me on. Basically, the horror crowd for, let's say, Kings of Horror on the YouTube channel is a little different than the festival horror crowd. And just the types of films this weekend was a nice mashup of kind of festival crowd filmmaker type of people and just kind of more of the Kings of Horror crowd. And there were some people were asking, it was like, well, is this a horror film? There's no, there's, and not everybody, but some of you were asking about, is this, there's no knives or slashers or anything like that. And I think that's the things that we have a lot of personal dramas, that are just deal with the dark subject matter. And I think horror actually has a wider umbrella than most people think. And I think it's for the longest time, even in Hollywood, it got a bad rap. The word horror got a bad rap. And there was some movies I was listening to a podcast, Eli Roth podcast, and they were talking about certain films in the 90s that weren't even supposed to be branded. They weren't allowed to use the word horror film. And one of them was The Sixth Sense. The movie Seven, too. Yeah. I got to plug in my laptop.
So...
But it's just crazy. I guess just to sum it up, I think anything that deals with a personal personal drama, or it can be a surface level slasher, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, type thing. Like it can be a popcorn film, or it can be a film that deals on a little bit deeper level. And I think that's kind of what I think it's pretty wide.
Can I ask a follow-up question? So we were actually talking, so Sam's costume is an homage to Ari Aster, and we were talking about how great his filmmaking is, horror, and I think you're right. I remember when horror had a bad rap and you wanted to kind of not use that genre, and so I got used to saying suspense, thriller, psychological thriller, and I think, so many of those films are considered more, critically acclaimed. They're still horror at the end of the day, right? I mean,
yeah, and saying like, Silence of the Lambs, and it's like,
yeah.
That one, and it's, someone might say it's like I love the genre across the board, but someone might say it's like, it's bad to label it like that, or my movie's not a horror film, it's a thriller. But it's like we'll get those thrillers in, we'll get the films about, we have films about domestic abuse, like addiction. Like there's films that hit on a deeper level that I think people just wouldn't put in that wouldn't think about it. And it's funny that we had a filmmaker win an award this weekend, and I can't think off the top of my head what it was, but he had sent us a message. He's like, "Thanks so much for giving us the award." It's like, even though it wasn't technically horror, but I know all the films that we programmed are horror films. It's okay to call it horror. There's nothing,
That's pretty funny. Even the people that make them don't want to call them that.
Yeah. It's just a label, gets taken out, right?
Yeah, it's really, I mean, if you think about genres, it's really just for marketing purposes, so you can easily say, this is what this movie is. This is how you'll feel if you watch this movie, generally. But so, Nikki, I had a question for you about your festival. How did you and your team come up with the Young Filmmakers Workshop? And do you plan on creating more workshops in the future?
Yes, we definitely want to do. We've done 2 or 3, and we would like to do more. So I'm not sure even whose idea it was. I think we just wanted to make the event richer and more multifaceted. I think it was the first year, and I think it must have been May Luong, because May produced the first 2 young filmmaker workshop events, and then we wind up screening them at the festival, and the kids love it. It's so much fun for them to see their work on the big screen. But it's a really fun day when we do that. We've done that at UNLV, and we just go out in teams with the kids, and there's a leader with every team, and they film. They come up with the idea themselves. We help them shoot and slate and all of that, and the only thing they don't do is edit. Of course,
it's a little more technical.
In the back end, right? But they love it, and it's a great experience for them. And I think it was probably May Luong's idea.
That's very cool, and it's a really nice way to give back to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Shirley Johnson was a big. She was on our board for, like, I would say 6 of the 7 years, and she was also a big force behind that one.
Very cool.
Yeah, we'll do it again.
So, speaking of how weird this year has been, both of your festivals were all virtual this year. How was that transition for you guys? Was it scary? Did you run into any problems doing it for the first time? Tell me a little bit about your guys' experience going virtual.
I can take that one since you just had your experience, right? So what's interesting is Justin they just did their festival, and we did, and we had the news. We were literally set to go live at UNLV. That was going to be our venue this year, on the day that the whole city shut down. So we canceled. We had to cancel 1 week prior, and everything had been put in place. We did everything. And so it was kind of heartbreaking to cancel, but we didn't cancel, we postponed. And we, I just didn't want too much time to go by before we did something. And we decided we really needed to just do a virtual festival in June. And it was, as I mentioned, it was such a great experience because of the fact that we were able to have these dialogues with 99% of the filmmakers. It was like having them with us. It was actually much more of an intimate experience than we would have had. Intimate in another way. We're doing these type of, like what we're doing now. Only one person can talk at a time.
Right. Yeah.
But when we're all in person and we're at a party or something, we don't have that. Everybody's talking to each other, and not everybody can be there. So it's such a different experience. And going forward, we are hoping that for number 7, for the next one, we're hoping to take what was really great about the online experience and keep some of that. And hopefully we will also be in person, but to maybe blend, have some type of a hybrid so that we can have the best of both worlds and still encourage people to come in when it's safe to do so.
Yeah, that's what we're exactly thinking the same thing. Is like we found a lot of cool things about the virtual that we didn't get, and it's funny, the filmmakers, we had one filmmaker mixer each day. There was a private deal just for the filmmakers, and then us. And it took a little bit to get some filmmakers in there. And then even in like we're doing now, so we had the film screen, and then we had the chat windows. There'd be X amount of number in the screening, and then like maybe a third of that number in the chat. And then slowly by the end of the weekend, the chat started getting a little bit bigger. And that's the whole experience, like what Nikki's saying, being able to, it's a different experience. And there's so many cool things that we didn't realize. Like at first we were kind of bummed. But we're also responsible, and obviously, even if we wanted to have, we wanted to be responsible, our theater, the Palms, is shut down, so we had But so I don't know. Next year we'll have something virtual, along with hopefully if everything goes well, and something in person too.
That's very cool. That some happy accidents, I guess, came out of it.
Yeah, I think. Hopefully the same thing can be said of this whole year. As horrible as it's been, I hope that some people have found different kinds of, unexpected happy accidents that also came with this experience.
Yeah.
Nikki, did you get any filmmakers kind of resistant to the online deal? So you guys already had yours set up, then you guys moved virtual. Did you guys have any filmmakers?
We had to do the whole thing. We really produced 2 festivals, which
you did.
Yeah, it was really horrible. It was really, really awful. But no, I think we got a lot of really positive. Well, maybe it's because of when we did ours. I think maybe there might be, Corona burnout now, and some people might be pushing to do things in person. But we couldn't do it. We couldn't do that back in June. And so we got such positive feedback. People thanked us for soldiering on and still doing something. And no, I would say I think one filmmaker elected not to participate out of, I think altogether we had maybe 70, somewhere around 68 films altogether. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a couple of filmmakers, and our platform was on YouTube, and it was the films would show once, and that was it.
Right.
We didn't have a paywall or anything this year, just because of such a small staff. We were trying to get, so that was that's kind of what we did. and we had a couple filmmakers, and just unfortunately backed out because not necessarily that it wasn't live, but the fact that it was online, and so they just didn't know if their film was like, I don't know, the whole digital thing, you know. So that was, you know, most everybody participated, and it's funny because we were like, well, now we have more time to program more films because we don't have to, you know. So we did double the amount of movies, and
yeah.
Did you guys do this double?
We did. We doubled also because we plan to be at UNLV, the new screening rooms there. So there are 2 or 3.
Oh man!
So we were going to do we were going to be a little multiplex and have multiple screenings, and so we were stuck with all this programming, and so we had so much programming, double. But I think you're right. There is a resistance. We also we used Eventive. The platform we used was Eventive, and a lot of the films had to be on Vimeo. I forget exactly. I think YouTube. We may have used YouTube as well, but there was a little bit of resistance, and we had to assure them that. Whatever, say they had a distribution deal and they had some type of limitations, we had to assure them that we could handle, like no screening, outside of the U.S. or whatever,
Whatever geo-blocking.
Yes, exactly. Whatever their streaming stipulations were.
Right. Interesting.
That's interesting. So what else would you guys like to see for the future of your festivals? Any big ideas? Any plans?
We have big dreams. We do.
Yeah.
We've been growing every single year, and we want to keep growing. And we had some great talent. We always have Nevada Woman Filmmaker of the Year. Actually, we always have either a Nevada Woman Filmmaker or we have a Nevada Woman of Achievement. The sad fact is there are not enough women filmmakers in Nevada that we can actually have a Nevada Woman Filmmaker every year. So last year we did, or this past year we did, Andrea Walter. So we want to continue with that, but we also want to continue with more curated films. I was able to get Learning to Skateboard in a War Zone, If You're a Girl, which won the Academy Award for Best Short Documentary.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, so that was super cool, and we were able to speak to Carol Deisinger, who just won the Oscar for that.
Awesome.
And our Vanguard winner our Vanguard Award recipient was Laura de Clermont-Tonnerre for The Mustang. And, that was such an obvious choice to honor her because, she's a very unique filmmaker, but it was filmed in Northern Nevada, so that really was special for us. And, of course, Andrea Walter, who's, the alumni So I think, to answer your question, we want to keep doing. We're branded. We have these traditions, and we have these special words, and we want to keep going with that. And we want to elevate our platform and make our festival something a destination. People want to come in from California, more local people, definitely. People traveling here from all parts of the U.S. We have had people travel as far as, Toronto.
Wow.
And all over the country. But we'd like to see definitely more of that forward, and perhaps each year being able to reach out to more and more, I hate to use the word celebrity, but, people, filmmakers or actors that are household names. Let's put it. We'd like to increase that and help raise the status of our film community that way.
It'd be cool to get some of your young filmmakers you guys are doing the workshops with to start submitting when they're getting older.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, graduate into a submission. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Great idea for a documentary, like a 10-year long, documentary.
Right.
It's a great idea.
What
Yeah,
about
so
you,
I have
Justin?
big dreams. I wish I could do it full time. I wish I didn't have to. You know, I wish I could be reaching out to all kinds of sponsors. 24/7.
Yeah.
It'd be great.
Yeah, sponsors that's the, like, I need to talk to you guys or something. Like, I have to find out like the secret sauce to that, because that's our hardest part. But I say, as far as like things that we want to add, one of the things that we had envisioned from the beginning is that to have a horror convention a part of the film festival too, kind of bringing. That's the good thing with horror, is that, like, the genre in comics and art and music and every kind of whole everything just kind of being one.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a super long term goal. My other goal is just to basically be, if one day we step away from it, that it survives in town.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's kind of, if I had to pick one thing, that's definitely what it'd be, as far as keeping the festival in Vegas. And, like, well, obviously it's Sin City Horror Fest, but keeping it alive for longer than what people think a horror fest in Vegas might last. I think, I love Nevada, I love Vegas, and keeping it around, even if I'm gone, that'd be awesome.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, I agree. I feel the same way, Justin. That's so heartfelt, and I agree. I would love that. Absolutely.
And I think the Damn Short's been doing a very good job. They've been around for almost 15 years now, or over 15 years.
I think it's actually the Jewish Film Festival, which is the longest running.
Oh, that's right. That is okay.
16 years. Yeah, that's Josh Abbey.
Yeah, so they raising the bar. That's awesome.
Yeah. Every year, raising the bar. All right. So we planned, like, the board, the Eccentric Artists and I planned a lot of questions, but you guys have been giving great answers, and this is great. So we're actually going to transition over to some audience questions now. So I have a question. Let's see. So I'm going to guess it's for the questions for Justin, but Nikki, if you want to jump in there, you can also. But the question is from our friend Noah, and it says, are there any other genres like horror that you think you would like to see more people taking seriously?
That's a tough question, but I think overall, as far as locally, maybe some science fiction. I know we had the Sci-Fi Center show films and things like that, but I think, I don't know. That's a tough one. Like, I feel like
I can jump in. Documentaries are my passion, and I think over the last maybe 10 years, documentaries have become just as enjoyable, or it's just as fun. We're getting to the point with documentaries where people love to stream them just as much as fictional films, like on Netflix.
Like, on-demand culture is very, like, ingrained the documentary into, like, everyone's home, for sure. I agree on that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my passion, is documentary, but I'd love to see that genre continue to grow.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Okay, we have another question for Justin. This one's from Maymay. Do you think there will be a whole new horror genre, COVID horror?
We had a couple films. By the way, I went to school with Maymay, so I think she's gonna throw in one. But no, I think next year, we're gonna see a lot more COVID films, as far as COVID related. We had a couple this year. Yeah, not as much as I thought we were gonna have, but I think you'll see those films in, not necessarily in horror films. I think you're going to see those films in, kind of the all around mainstream festivals too. I think that that
Drama.
is,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So I think that's kind of across the board. I think people are going to be telling those stories, and honestly, I think that, like, a lot of filmmakers are, from shorts to features, are going to have that thing like ingrained in some of their stories, and it's going to timestamp their in the best way. And I think it's going to be it's definitely going to be interesting how it affects filmmaking in general.
Definitely. All right. And then I have a question from Nadine. It's for both of you guys. Can you guys give us any tips or advice on film submissions to your festivals?
That's a great question. I would say just, you mean as far as being accepted into our festival?
I think so. I think we'll make that assumption. Yeah. What kind of tips would you give for someone submitting to your festival?
Oh, you mean like what type of film okay, well, I think not too long. Right. Justin, what about you? How many features do you
This year we had 12 official selections. 4 of the features didn't want to screen, but they were still the official selections. We had 8 screen. But I actually think with the online festivals, I think we're more forgiving with the time.
Yes, I agree.
And we let in, not to reel too much magic on the backside, but it's like we're a little more forgiving there's the weird area of time slot of like 17, 20 minutes to like 40 minutes. It's a weird kind of like
a featurette. It's not quite a short. It's not quite a feature.
It's too long for the short blocks, and it's one of those things. But I think online, those films have a lot more greater chance to be seen. So before this year, I would have said, yeah, the length. I would have keep it short. We love super short films, and we love hour long features or hour plus long features. But yeah, I guess before this year, I would say the length is kind of our big thing. And again, quality and being true to yourself and as an artist, all the cliche things, but those things actually do come through, and they do mean something. But yeah, time's a huge deal.
Definitely, I think
branding too. Branding and letting know that poster and all that stuff, something for to look at, and then obviously the film has to hold its weight. But yeah, all the little extra stuff that you put in.
I think for your genre, yeah, I think posters are great. I think that's something that I always forget about, and I keep, it's something, next year I have to remember to be much better about posters, and if those are available, we have to, make sure that we put them out and stuff like that. I think one tip that is really important is to forgive us, to be patient with us when you're communicating, especially when you can only imagine how busy we get, and we're getting emails, hundreds a day maybe during the thick of it, and to be patient and be forgiving with us. And when we do have to make those programming decisions, I agonize over it. I ask any of my co-workers on the festival. I agonize over it, and I want to accept everyone, but we can't. And I feel really badly about that. And so I think if people can understand that would be very helpful.
And keep making films and keep submitting. We've had a lot of filmmakers submit. This is their 4th year, and they've submitted 3 films before, and they just get in. So
yes,
it does happen. Like, so keep submitting, and your name does get it does rise to the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Don't give up.
Yeah.
Sure. And sometimes it's got nothing to do with the quality of the film. Sometimes we just have to. For in our case, we have to have a mix of genre, so it's not all documentaries or, that there is some
Right.
comedy in there. I love my, critically acclaimed type, but, I have to make sure there's some comedy in there too. And, that we have a good mix and that the locals are represented and that we're not too top heavy with maybe one country, that we have so many films from, I don't know, Argentina one year. So I there could be 5 amazing ones, but
Mm-hmm.
I want to, spread it out a little bit so that, we pride ourselves on being diverse. So we really, we look out for that as well. Mm-hmm. So sometimes it's got it's no reflection on your film. And I do try to say that in our letters when we have to make programming decisions. Yeah.
It's tough. That's very hard. And we give awards out too, and the awards I'm like, that's kind of one of the things that I'm not super involved in on that end.
Yeah.
And I do have kind of like help with final say on some of these things, but I'm like, man, and I always think that's so hard too. Picking the films, like, it's
because we had a really great Femi Awards this year, so it was all pre-recorded, and it was even though there's charm to live, it was really awesome to really kind of do a professional pre-recorded show.
That's cool.
I think that is definitely my favorite part of the festival because it's over. It's like, it's such a relief, and we get to see, a look at, these amazing, every film, that makes it to our festival is really great in its own way. But, to be able to finally give those awards, and 2 of my favorite awards that I think might be unique to our festivals, we have a Best Female Protagonist, which is just what it sounds like, and that's usually for a fictional film. And then we have a Spirit of Activism Award, which usually goes to a documentary, and those are 2 of my favorite awards.
That's awesome.
Very cool. Justin, do you have a favorite award?
I don't. I'm the worst guy on that for awards wise, because like I was never big on like and probably because I never won any, so it was like I was never like super big on them, and the other guys won. That was one of the cool things they wanted to do. And Mike designs the trophies and he sculpts them himself, so they're very custom made trophies. And so we do take a lot of pride in our awards as far as giving them out, and they do mean a lot. But as far as picking the favorite, like it was always tough because it's like I always want to kind of give everyone like, it's like, you get a good in the editing and good sound design, and there's so many cool elements. As far as a horror film fest, I want to do some more fun horror awards, kind of more story and character based, just stuff that they don't see at other film festivals, So we do have the typical, all the standards, but it would be cool. We're thinking about next year doing some cool things with characters or settings and just something different.
Yeah.
So we do a thing every year where we do a Icon of Horror Award, and kind of like what Nikki was saying, we want to try to get some other names. We've had 4 Icons of Horror Awards. So first year was David Schmuller, just because it's David and like he's like family to me. So, but he's contributed a lot, especially in the 80s. Like a lot of those films that he had like still have a lasting impact on a lot of horror fans. Tourist Trap and Puppet Masters, like those films are ingrained in like horror film fans, like blood. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's important to do something that's unique to your festival. Really have your branding and your traditions. And I love that you all have a very unique trophy. I'd love to see what that looks like. And one thing I really love about Damn Short, I love their poster that they do every year.
The contest is cool. I like that.
It's so cool. And it every year they really do have an incredible poster. So we thanks for the inspiration. We should be doing something like that.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Let's see. I have a question from Danette. It says, not a question, but a comment. Great interview. Congrats to both fests on their success.
Danette, Danette Terrell rocks.
Thank you, Danette. Okay, and then we have a question from Darren. It says, what films have both of you seen at your festivals that you would recommend people to check out?
I was lucky enough to go to Sundance a couple years ago, and I cannot remember the name of the film, but it was about, it was a story of a man who had been imprisoned wrongly for decades, and based on a true story. And I'm sorry, I can't think of the name of it right now, but the man actually showed up there at the theater in Sundance.
Mm-hmm.
And, it was really, really cool to see that he was innocent and he was able to get his story. He got obviously help, people who, I don't think it was the Innocence Project, but it was something like that.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I forgot what's that.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
And that was this year or the year before?
No, it was a couple of years back.
Yeah.
Maybe one of our listeners knows which film I'm talking
Let
about.
us know.
That was great, and I mean, I can, there have been some films coming through our festival that have made it, and what about you, Justin? That should be.
There's two films this year, and if you watch the two films, I think a lot of people will be like, "Oh, those are horror films," but they're definitely there's one film. Two of the big ones. One's called Sister Tempest, and the filmmaker his name is Joe Badone, and he did a feature film that was in our festival a couple years ago called "The God Inside My Ear." And funny enough, there was a Netflix film. There's a little deal where there's like supposedly that the Netflix film stole his idea. Not sure the whole details on it, but he had a film in here called Sister Tempest this year, and the other filmmaker, Jeff Wedding's Tennessee Gothic was another big one, and those are two good features this year that during their festival runs right now. But Joe Badone with Sister Tempest, the films are very, very like masterful filmmaking, like from the writing, the directing, the acting, just so surreal, and yet there's so much richness to the characters, and it is kind of a trippy film. So those two films I would say are definitely on my list for recommendations for people.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Awesome. Let's see.
Our first year, we had a documentary called Small, Small Thing, the Olivia Zena story, which was incredible. It was a heartbreaking story of a young child in Africa who, was it was a very horrible thing that happened to her. But that, I think, went on to be very big. Of course, our very first year, our Nevada Woman Filmmaker of the Year, Rebecca Thomas, her film Electric Children, went on to do really well. That was an incredible film. UNLV alum.
Right.
Yeah.
Stranger Things director too. She's an episode of Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's really cool.
Make sure that you check out these festivals because these are local Las Vegas festivals. They're also online as of this year, so hopefully we'll see some more online stuff from you guys next year. Hopefully, we'll see what definitely. Kind of iteration festivals take next year. It's hard to think about to predict the future. All right, we ran through that time like it was nothing. Thank you guys for answering all these questions. That was great. It's been great talking to you guys. I really appreciate having you guys here with us.
No, thank you. Nikki, someone said in the chat, Rose says in the chat, Just Mercy, question mark? Is that the film?
Is that the film you were talking about?
Oh, it could be, yeah. It
Just
could
Mercy.
be.
Okay.
Are we still live?
We are. Yes, I believe so.
Dude, Can I give a shout out to my team?
Yeah, definitely.
We could not have Nevada Women's Film Festival without Brett Levner, Danette Tull, Maymay Luong, Shirley Johnson, Patty, Esther, Kelsey, Michelle, Joe, Courtney, Crystal, Dee Drenta, Gilda Graham, Rudy Bourmont, Kathy Duba, and some of our friends, including Tracy Adley, Emily Skyle Golden, Sarah O'Connell, and Susan Kennedy Henry. And UNLV and Nevada Humanities. So it takes a village. And right, Justin?
Can you send some of those people over to can you send some of those people over to my festival?
So I gave, so all these people were people since the beginning. They're not all working with us still, but these are, except for Brett. I think Brett's the only one who's been with me all 7 years, but
that's awesome.
Either one of them.
Well, I better give a shout to my guys then too.
Yeah.
Clay Lake, Drew Marvick, Darren Flores, Mike Lanzini, and our fifth, Tony Strauss. So those are the kind of then we have a lot of other people who help out for sure. Leslie Gomez helped us out last year.
Yeah.
And she helped us with sponsors last year, so she was awesome.
She's a great filmmaker too, and I think she and her filmmaking partner, they won our local award a couple years back. Great film, yeah.
So
very cool, yeah, and very deserving shout outs for all these people. Like you said, Nikki, it takes a village, definitely. All right, and it looks like Danette says that she's happy to help Justin, so you might have help on your way.
Yeah, anybody give me some help? We need some sponsors. That's so yeah, check out. We'll have some of the film fest, the films from Sin City Horror Fest. We're gonna try to acquire some of the shorts for the Kings of Horror channel too. So it's kind of some of the filmmakers reached out, so you might see some there too. So
awesome.
Keep a lookout.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time. So I just want to thank everyone for watching. Be sure to, sorry, I have like a, sorry. I'm getting all choked up about saying bye to you guys. I'm so sorry.
No, don't go.
So I just wanted to say, please be sure to check out the website, eccentricartist.space. We will be housing examples of their work, their websites, their social media, get linked up with these people. They're super interesting, super smart, very involved. They're great people to know. So get connected with them, go follow them, and make sure you submit to their film festivals.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, Samantha. We, Justin and I know we're both so incredibly impressed with what you all are doing, and let's work together. With our, I know the film festival community. We all try to co-sponsor each other, and you all should be a part of that. We should help each other, and very impressed with what you're doing.
Thank you so much.
Thank you to all the Eccentric Artist team members. You guys have been awesome, and you guys run a pretty tight ship over there. So,
thank you so much. We are in our first couple months, and it's been a huge learning experience. But we're just so happy to have you guys here. It's been great talking to you guys. Thank you so much for your support, and thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, so let's not say thank you for the next half hour, but I think that's it. But thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye. See you, everybody.